My name's Maria Wheatley, and some of you may know me from dowsing, earth energies and sacred sites and deep waters, and really communicating to Gaia and Gaia's energies. I travel the world looking at different sorts of earth energies. I've now dowsed in 17 different countries and numerous ancient sites, and I always love it when a site welcomes you. And this site has welcomed me as well, because you don't have to be at a sacred site to have good energy. You've all been really lovely, and I must admit, I thought yesterday with that weather, wow, you guys must be doing well, because I was indoors. But what we're going to look at here is, have you heard about the esoteric colours of the sun? Anyone? Yeah? It's hardly known about. And have you heard of the esoteric colours of the earth? Have you heard about the Isis and Karnak pendulums of ancient Egypt? Well then, I'm going to hopefully really introduce you to different forms of dowsing. Because when we think of dowsing, we think of the traditional Y rod, isn't it? This is so easy to use. It's a hazel Y rod. This is called a masculine Y rod for obvious reasons. It rises upon tension. And so this is really easy to use. And then there's other forms. I would only water divine, incidentally, with hazel. I wouldn't water divine with metal, because the Fae don't like metal. It's always been a big thing. I come from a second generation esoteric water divining, and you would use traditional hazel for that, because the earth will greet you. And why hazel? In the Celtic mythology, at the centre of the world grows a big grove of hazel trees surrounding the world's deepest waters. That's why we use hazel. The history of dowsing is quite intriguing, really, because most people associate dowsing with your good old-fashioned L-rod. And I'm sure a lot of people have used one of these. Yep, this is your standard device, if you will. It's a metal copper L-rod. I tend to use copper because this is dedicated to Gaia's earth energies, and copper tends to come from Cyprus, and it represented the goddess Venus. So it's a very feminine rod. In China, they wouldn't use that. In China, they use a Chinese geomant rod that is very light and is very good for dowsing vortex energy and grid lines. So that's what they would use. We're going to be having a look at ancient Egypt for one, because if there's one thing I love is Egypt. And sometimes it just calls to us, Egypt. Has anyone felt a real big connection to Egypt? See? We all kind of incarnated there, and then we came back, didn't we? I mean, it really is that kind of energetic pull. So I'm going to take you to the Valley of the Kings. And the Valley of the Kings is in Luxor, okay? It's south of Cairo. It's in what's called the Middle and New Kingdom of ancient Egypt, where you have Nile temples like Hathor's temple, Edfu, Komombo, and all these wonderful temples. But you also have the Valley of the Kings. 1930, just before war kind of breaks out, if you were. There were Italians there, Germans there, the French, the Brits with Carnarvon, and Carter of King Tut fame. Okay, the Egyptians like to use the word King Tut. Pharaoh is a Greek word. Okay, and they don't like the Ptolemies and the Greeks, because they took over. So we're at the Valley of the Kings now. It's 1930, and it's a hustle and bustle. You've got everybody wanting to find gold. They want to hit that gold. Obviously, Carter and Carnarvon hit the jackpot. So imagine now you've got the French. The French have always been really good occultists, probably some of the best in the world. And the Germans have been the best dowsers. Okay? I'll explain why in a moment. So there we are, we're at the Valley of the Kings, and the French have occultists with them. So they want to look at the burials, not just of the mummification, but how they were buried and why they were mummified in the first place, in terms of metaphysics, rather than preserving for the underworld to meet Osiris. So the French team had two special people with them. They were earth energy diviners, for one, and they were also great observers and scientists. They were called Chaumery and de Belizal. Have we heard of Chaumery and de Belizal? You're going to, yeah, you have, and it's great. So you've got two French people, Chaumery and de Belizal, and they're looking all the time at the position of the burials that they have found. They didn't get King Tut, but what they did find, this is an energy device here. It's called the Karnak pendulum. And what Chaumery and de Belizal found was on every single mummy in the Valley of the Kings that they found on the heart chakra was this device, like this, placed over the heart chakra. I say heart chakra, they said heart, yeah? But the organs were taken out. There was no heart in a mummy, yeah? So I think it was the energetic. So that's what they kept finding. If you go to the Valley of the Kings today and you go to Ramesses IV's burial chamber, then what you see is these energy devices lined up like this, okay? So they thought, what's this? Well, what's this device used for? We're seeing it all over the Valley of the Kings. Why is it on mummies? Then they were studying what's called the colours of the sun. So if you imagine that the colours of the sun are through an electromagnetic spectrum, aren't they? You've got 7 colours, yeah? If you put a prism up to the sky, you'd see 7 colours, yeah? And they're the colours of the chakras. But what they realised, if you put this pendulum into the Earth's magnetic field, then it can pick up on other colours, the esoteric colours that are beyond the 7 colours, one of which is called the negative green. It's in between the colours of black, that side, rain, rain, black that side, and white that side. So it's really grey. I always said to my late father, who introduced me to Egyptian pendulum dowsing, if a woman had seen black, white, she would have called it grey. They called it the negative green. So it's quite confusing, okay? Negative green. It is said by dowsers to be the strongest force ever generated by the sun and by the earth. If you find negative green in the earth, then it is especially powerful, and I'll come on to that. So these were the pioneers of these esoteric colours of the sun. And Chaumery left the Valley of the Kings with de Belizal, and they set up a laboratory not far from Paris on energy, currents, and a whole shebang. And then they started generating the negative green through these energy devices, one very similar to this, okay? And Chaumery was left to experiment with it in effect, because nobody knew what it was for and why the Egyptians were using them. De Belizal came back to the laboratory about sort of 10 days later, and he found his colleague completely mummified with no smell of fermentation, and that went down in dowsing history as the negative green is quite dangerous. So I've seen the negative green. There's only about 4 master dowsers in the world that knows how to generate negative green and how to use it. And I'll come along to some examples. But one place, one sacred site that has that negative green is the Rollright Stone Circle in Oxfordshire. Have we been there? I got nods here. Who's been to Rollright? I love Rollright. I remember when Pauline Flick had it before it got sold to the trust, and I think she did the best job. So just outside that stone circle, which is a ring, on the opposite side of the road, you have what's called the Kingstone. Yeah, it's a single monolith, and then just in front of that to one side, you have negative green. And if you place a stake, a really thick stake, get a really thick stake. Actually, I should say Blue Peter. Don't practice this at home. But I've seen it practiced. And you get a stake. Once it's entered the earth energy field of negative green, it will shrink like that. yeah. But you're not supposed to open it up afterwards. But they're places where it is said by Charmian de Belizal and many others besides to be the cure and cause of cancer. Okay, that's what they say. If you have too much negative green in your body, you're probably going to get cancer. If you have too little negative green, it's the same thing. And these energy devices restore that. So you can't be around too much negative green. It's emitted by the sun. Yeah, at midnight, it's emitted by the sun. And then at noon, on the opposite spectrum, that's when the sun is at its zenith, isn't it? South, or 1 p.m. BST time, noon Greenwich Mean Time, that's when the positive green comes down. So imagine this, that for every hour of the day, like this, all of the colours come down at once because you can't stop a spectrum of colour. Do you see what I mean? When you put that spectrum to the sun or you see that rainbow, there's all those 7 colours, isn't there? I can't say I'm going to just get green, but what we say is with the esoteric colours of the sun, they're always present, but at one particular hour of the day, one colour dominates. Yeah? So at noon, 1 p.m. BST at this time of the year in daylight saving time, when you're at 1 p.m, green dominates. And green is the colour of the goddess Isis, isn't it? And Venus. And you could list goddess after goddess. And so if you need positive green, you just literally attune yourself to that. And I'm going to show you an energy device now that is the feminine. This is the masculine for negative green, and I'll give a demo if we've got time later, which I'm sure we will. They're always, incidentally, in 2 parts. Can you see? 2 parts. Yeah. If you do go through Luxor or Cairo airport, I would say put that into the main luggage, because if I put it in my hand luggage, and if it wasn't for my Arabic talking guide, I thought I was bringing a bullet. And I was nearly crying. Yeah, because I'm going to be in a cell with rats. Oh no, and I was really getting all panicky. And then in the meantime, somebody's stealing my camera and they were doing nothing. So I was really panicking. So top tip, never through Luxor airport. But with these colours, now this may challenge your ideas. We're talking about dominant colours coming in, yeah? It's absolutely amazing. This is the energy device that captures it. Okay, and this is found in this shape here. This shape here is found in every single temple across the Luxor. Yeah, what an Orthodox Egyptologist would tell you. Oh, what does this represent? It's the spine of Osiris, and it represents a palm tree. That's what the actual Orthodox statement is. But again, Charmian de Belizal found these as energy devices. They're always in 2. Whenever you see these as one energy device, tell that person to wrap it in tin foil or wrap it in a Faraday cage, because you should not be around that energy full time. Little bit of it is good, but not full time. So I'm just going to put the mic down and I'm going to show you what it's like. It's in 3 parts, okay? So I put this part together. I'll pick the mic up in a moment. And then let's say I want to attune myself to the mic. So if I want to attune myself to the power of Isis, yeah? Isis energy comes in at 1 p.m. Do you see what I mean? And you look up at Ra, the god of the sun, yeah? And that's the masculine. This is the feminine that captures it. So what you notice, if I was in Abydos, has anyone been to Abydos Temple? Catherine has, and yeah, you have. It's absolutely superb. Well, what you see at Abydos, if you take a careful look online, and again, the Egyptologists have no idea why they're all blowing into this energy device. And the Ankh comes from their mouth, the Ankh cross, I'm not being rude, the Ankh cross, and they're blowing it. And then they've got this energy device that goes into the ground as a spike, okay? So that's their breathing into this. That's the idea, is to get the colours of the sun to heal you or to heal space. These are so good at healing your house, your home, your office, people. Yeah, they are so simple to use. And let's say you want to attune to that beautiful colour green, the goddess. Then you do what's called the breath of the goddess. And you would imagine at 1 p.m. that beautiful green ray coming in. It's coming in like this, and you kind of get in the rhythmic beat of the colour green, and then you take the final breath in the name of the goddess. You come down and then go back up. So you breathe in like that, and you do what the priests do. Just put the mic down. Then you wait. And if Isis, that colour, is saying, you can work with me, because sometimes in the West we think, oh, I'm going to clear that over there because I'm so important. The earth needs clearing over there. With these Egyptian energy devices, you can only work with it if it moves, if it accepts you. Okay, so you'd wait like this, and I'm just going to fake it. But then even if it does that, that would be a yes. If it goes around like that, that's a yes. Or if it goes the other way, or sometimes it bobs like that. What I love about the Isis pendulum, which I say to my students, wait till she defies gravity. I'm going to have to put Mike down. Because when she defies gravity and she's putting in a colour to someone, she's like that for a couple of minutes. Whoa. Yeah. And then people go, they do that. They do the eyes in the air. Oh, yeah, Maria. Like that. And then they go, they phone me up or they get me on my email and go, it happened. It's when that energy is really getting the power like that. So that means that I can use green because I've attuned to green. Do you see what I mean? You can only use the colours that you've attuned to. So let's say, I don't want to go around breathing into pendulums, Maria. I've got time for that. I'm a busy person. Then if you bought it just like that in the 3 bits, and soon as you screw it together, it's emitting all of the colours of the sun god Ra. Do you see what I mean? So you don't need any training. You just would start walking up, and Isis would tell you if there is negative energy, because she goes counterclockwise, or anti-clockwise as we say in the UK. And if she puts in positive energy, she just goes clockwise. So you could do it over food, over people. But here's the main concept. I'm just going to unscrew it because you don't want to be around white light all of the time. Too much of a good thing. Not so good. This is where it gets a bit different in esoteric dowsing. We say normally that the base chakra is red, yeah? And we could go up in the colour of the rainbows. And I'm sure we all know our chakra colours, don't we? We really do. In terms of Egyptian pendulum dowsing, that's not the case. What the case is that there's all of the colours of Ra there, but red dominates in its opening, and red dominates in the colour. Do you see what I mean? So you go like that all through up the chakras. So, for example, the base chakra may not necessarily need red. Do you see what I mean? It might need another colour of the sun god Ra to go into it to balance it out, in effect. So that's a kind of different concept in these terms to do with Egyptian pendulum dowsing. And once you feel the energy of it, you really start to feel energy shifts with these energy devices. And like I say, you can charge up food, take toxins out of food, it's believed, and do a lot of different things with them. And like I say, when you go to ancient Egypt and you see the gods at places like Abydos, it's the priesthood that blows into this, into Isis. Okay, so you'd see that throughout the temples. And when I go with, I tend to go with Kerry Cassidy to ancient Egypt. She's my working colleague. And the Egyptian guides would just say, oh, they're just talking about Osiris there. But they don't have a clue of the history of dowsing. So that was the 1930s, okay? And we're going to have a Q&A towards the end as well, so you can ask questions and things like that. So that was the 1930s, okay? Now we're going to go forward to the 40s, yeah? We're going to go forward to the 40s. And what was happening in the 40s? You had the Germans fighting the Brits, didn't you? And all the Second World War. I'm really lucky because in my family archives, they're digital now. I inherited from 1899 surveys of master dowsers, and it's a real privilege. And one of those pictures was of Hitler. I'm not a Nazi, I don't advocate anything like that, but I'm just telling you the history and how the Germans became the master dowsers. And in that time, Hitler wanted to use the colours of the sun and the earth as a weapon. Yeah. So he said to Himmler, I've got the picture, I've digitalised it now, and there's Hitler shaking Himmler's hand and saying, welcome to my Dowson Academy in Munich, okay? Because they were using these, yeah? Now, where they placed all of their horrible concentration camps, yeah, they raised 2 frequencies, yeah? And if you raise a frequency, you don't raise the earth energy, you raise its colour frequency, yeah? And there's particular colours of the earth and particular colours of the sun. So guess what 2 colours Himmler was rising? Red, black, white. And it became the colours of their flags, yeah? And red, white and blue, yeah? When you think of those colours and you start to look worldwide, red, white and blue, whenever you have red and white, that's the colour of the warrior, yeah? Where you have white and blue, Hamish Miller, Dowson fame, have we heard of Hamish? Yep. Loads have heard of Hamish, who hasn't? He's forwarded a book by Busty and I, and he's a lovely guy, and my father knew him exceptionally well. Well, they said the colour of Mary's dominant colour, because all of the colours exist, but one colour dominates, was Madonna blue. That's how Hamish visualised Mary to douse from his car to get them. And Michael was white, and white and blue is the colour of the magician, the colour of the healer. And when you have the 3 colours come together, red, white and blue, that's the colour of royalty. That's the colours they will be looking for at Buckingham Palace. So back to the 1940s. Himmler, the first thing that Hitler said to Himmler when they invaded Poland was, there's a stone circle there. I love my megaliths, as you may know. There's a stone circle there called O Dry Stone Circle. Cordon it off. That's going to be where we do our magic. Second one, cordon off the Holy Grail Castle. That's where the 3 colours come together. Okay, so that's what they were looking for. And then they would activate the colours of the earth with the colours of the sun to do terrible things with. But that was in the 40s. So then you had the German master dowsers come forward. They were learning all of the time. And their children were not Nazis, but they became the best in the world, because this time, over here in the 1940s, the only person Churchill was listening to was Crowley. Crowley was on his side, and Crowley had already gone dark side, because when Alistair, have we heard of Alistair Crowley? Yes. When Alistair Crowley in 1904, the equinox of the gods changing, he was in the pyramids channeling a really good thing. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. That's Crowley's message from the Egyptian. Love is the law, love under will. That was Crowley's mantra, but then he went dark side. So Hitler and Himmler had all of these amazing master dowsers. Churchill, who was a druid, he was just listening to Crowley, actually, who'd gone dark side. But eventually, good will always win, no matter what knowledge that you have, incidentally. So now we're going to go to the 1960s in our dowsing history. And you still had Chaumery and de Bellezalle, you still had these amazing French diviners, now joined by the German master dowsers. And then you had the Californians. God love the Californians. God love them, who were saying, oh, you don't need any of this. You just need a pendulum. And if you go yes, it will go yes. And if you go no, it will go no. And information dowsing was born. It was never used like that before. So the dowsing that we tend to use today has no lineage. Yeah, it really does go just back to the Californian times, because prior to that, you'd have to have an intent. You would never say, give me my yes response. Traditionally, that was, which is correct. You wouldn't go yes, no, because what does yes and no mean? It's correct and incorrect. So I think the history of dowsing is a wonderful thing. So you've got all these Californian hippies now, God love it, they're all doing their energy dowsing, which is great. Yeah, and at the same time, you've got a movement now of kind of more academic side to dowsing, looking at them saying, we think we need to break away from you. I wish they'd stayed together, because with a bit of that, a bit of new energy and a bit of the old, I think dowsing would have been greater than it is today, is my humble opinion. So what happened in the 60s? It went underground, and you had a movement now with the Europeans saying, we don't want to work with those. And there was a chap who's been taken off of YouTube. Surprise, surprise. And you hardly hear his name mentioned in dowsing, but he's called Christopher Hill. He was a Brit who lived in America, and they were then going back to the negative green. And this is his story, okay? Sadly, his wife got breast cancer, and he was at a loss of what to do. So he said, I'm going to get these energy devices back. It's all done to the harmonic length, yeah? So if I half that, that's a harmonic of that. If I doubled it, it's a harmonic. Do you see what I mean? So they were using the harmonics. And he claimed in surgery, you know, Western people like to hack into people and pull things out, don't they? It's astonishing. I'm sure if there's in the future, you did what? And they hack things out. Well, Christopher Hill said, no, you leave it in situ because it's a part of the person. The part of the person has grown this. You take away its life force. And that's what that can do. For good or for bad, you can take away the life force. Do you see what I mean? So if you've got a tumour growing inside of you, the idea is leave it in situ, but take away its life force. And he claimed he could do that. And again, I don't advocate animal testing at all, but they tested on animals, rightly or wrongly, and they started to suspend the life force of snails. And as long as you keep it safe away from astral energies, yeah, then that is safe on the soul level, so to speak. And then they would put the life force back, so they could take it out and put it in. That was where dowsing was going, to heal and to change frequencies. Because now we're using colour. Do you see what I mean? We're using these negative greens and harmonics from ancient Egypt. And then he went missing. He went missing, yeah? And so it was only so many dowsers that knew of the legacy of these energy devices and other things. And so it's quite astonishing. Really, like I say, I've only seen the negative green work twice in my entire life. Once at Rollright to shrink the steak, and you're never supposed to open the box once you see it because it's so full of the negative green that you're not supposed to be around that. And another time when I was in London heading for a dowsing meeting, because they meet up in strange places, master dowsers. As Busty will attest at the back of the room, he's been my friend for years. When I was taught the second phase of Earth Energies by Master Dowsers in 2006, they would teach me, they said, come to Oxford. We're going to teach you at Oxford University. They had a whole room there for dowsing. These were European commissioners, yeah? So we know that there is really high-ranking people in place. And Busty didn't take the advice of a Master Dowser. Geez, I would, yeah? Because they said, the financial crash is coming. And Busty was going, no, everyone's got credit card, haven't they? Everything's good. Invest in gold. We're here to change the system. It's what they said. And they taught me about some stuff I'm going to be releasing pretty soon. And Next minute, there was a financial crash, and Paul Busty could have earned 100k overnight. My advice is, when you're around a master dowser, just kind of take that punt. I think I would. But anyway, I just not. My point here is, all of the top people in this land know a master dowser. Not necessarily people known to be master dowsers, under the radar. Yeah, and that they're influencing all corporate companies near enough worldwide, okay? And shamans are employed by them. The second time that I saw the negative green being used, and then I will pass this around for somebody to feel, a sensitive person to feel that energy, was in London. We were heading for a Master Dowse meeting, and I was only about sort of 21, 22, thought I know it all, you know, like you do in your 20s, me, like that, and hilarious looking back. And we've entered this beautiful, I'll never forget, it was in Chelsea, this massive, massive home, and there's going to be a meeting, exchanging of minds and energy, like here today. And my father was not the best driver. He was not the best driver. I'll never forget reversing down the M4 with him as I'm getting out of the I'm getting out of the effing car. I'm getting out of the effing car. You're insane. Yeah. Yeah, that was.
It was a good dowser.
It was a good dowser, bloody bad driver.
Sometimes you find that.
Yeah, I know. I went down the embankment and met on the roundabout. That was my plan. But anyway, he was reversing to park in this place, and unfortunately, he hit the cat of the owner, and the cat is now in a bad way. And this was back in the day, no mobile phones. They had to look through the old-fashioned yellow pages. Can you remember that? And the V for vet. And they're kind of saying, oh, we need to suspend its life force so that when it does go to the vet, we're kick it in then. My only job was to try and keep the astral energies away, if you see what I mean. And that was the second time I saw the negative green being implemented. And again, it's through just a larger size of this. So who's really sensitive in the audience? Well, you're nearest, sir, so I'm going to put this energy device together.
I'll tell you what I'm getting.
Okay, do you want the mic?
No, it's very simple. I'm getting a toroid with a 0 point in the middle.
A toroid. He says he's getting a toroid point with 0.
A 0 point in the middle of a toroid.
Yeah, that's actually a really good description for how sometimes the pendulum does move. So that's and with the history, we're just going to go flip back to the 60s. Chomi and de Belazal have now, you know, they're getting old. They give it to an Egyptian called Ibrahim Karim, and Ibrahim Karim takes over all of the energy devices, as he does today. But there was a breakaway school in Belgium, and that school still exists. And that's the school that I follow, the European colour of Master Dowsers with the beautiful colours. And this is the main point of how negative green comes into Earth. Yeah, shape can generate it. So if we go to ancient Egypt, what's the most iconic shape in ancient Egypt? Pyramid. A pyramid will generate negative green. For example, a dome shape. All long barrows, not all, a majority of long barrows tended to have corbelled roofs going round. Mosques, synagogues, the White House, yeah, opposite the obelisk from Egypt. That generates the negative green, which represents, if you kind of go in and out of that energy space, it represents power. That's one part. And also it generates more earth energy colours as well. So that's quite incredible. But this is how it comes into the world, into being, through shape or through time of day. So imagine now, we're a sphere, aren't we, on Gaia, and we're in daylight now, but the other part of the world is in what's called the shadow, the dark night. Yeah. So if you imagine the colours of Ra are coming in like this, as soon as they go through the shadow and come back out the other side, that's the negative green. It's the shadow side of light. In occultism, you have light. Everything has its yin, everything has its yang. And in occultism, it's called the shadow aspect of night. And that's why it's grey. Remember, in between the white and the black. So we all have a shadow side. In psychology, we have a shadow side, don't we? So with these pendulum devices, it's about manipulating those colours. Do you see what I mean? So, for example, if you wanted to work with the Isis pendulum with light, this is the main overall theory. If I'm working with Ra at dawn, for example, you know that pre-dawn light just before the sun comes up? It's light, isn't it? But the sun hasn't risen above the horizon line. That's ultraviolet light in terms of Egyptian pendulum dowsing. And so like pre-dawn time, you can get up and then you attune to ultraviolet and you put ultraviolet into that energy device by breathing it in pre-dawn. Yeah? And the idea behind it is the more colours of Ra that I breathe, the more colours that the energy device has of me, of my breath, like seen in Egypt, the more my light body expands. See, I'm becoming one with the light of Ra. Do you follow? So it's about your expansion of light as much as the expansion of light itself. You are becoming one. So your auric field will start to fill with the light of the sun god, Ra, for instance. And like I say, the idea being is you go through all of the colours, you put all of the colours in, then you can do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the will, love under will. And you then can use it for better, for healing. So we had someone else say they were sensitive. Let's, someone else put a hand up or something so I can see. You sensitive? Sort of. Well, that's a yes. Okay, I'm going to take that as a yes. You're very beautiful, so I'm going to take that as a yes. I was going to put it together for you. Okay, don't want to drop the mic. Eli will go nuts. And I'm just going to hold that. Now, just hold it in a relaxed way over the palm of your hand and just see what it does. It may not move. It will still be emitting white light, and see how you feel. So this is the kind of white light mode of the pendulum, and a lot of people can feel it. And when the light is being extracted, when Isis goes anti-clockwise, anywhere in the auric field or in the chakras, or as Druids and Egyptians say, the 12 gateways of the soul. Yeah, so you have 12 gateways is a tradition, and these kind of, all become balanced, and you take light out, you put in light in, and it can be very, very alchemic and very transformative. And they're relatively inexpensive as well. And, like I say, if you go to places like sacred sites, you will have 3 colours that dominate a sacred site. They're called the temple colours. They tend to be white light, that's generated by Isis anyway, green of the heart, ultraviolet, and spiritual gold. They tend to be what's called the temple colours, and gold, in terms of light healing, tends to energize something. It can transform one state to the next, like alchemy, for instance. Ultraviolet can soothe and heal and cleanse. And these, if you're a seer, you can often feel their presence coming out of normally the kind of center of a sacred site. And that's what the Egyptians knew. And that's why they placed their temples predominantly in harmony with these colors. Not necessarily with what Himmler was doing or what the royal family are doing and continue to do to this day by looking for red, white and blue. So how are we getting on? Well, it's making her feel drunk, so anyone wants a cheap round? I'll do that when I get home. Who needs Chardonnay, darling? It is. All jokes aside, it is very powerful. It will make you feel from one state to a next, and you can space clear like this, because the one thing that darker entities don't like is light, isn't it? So so it's so easy. You can go into the darkest of energetic environs with these energy devices, and you literally, so it's quite boring and methodical, and just walk up and down. Do you see what I mean? And what Isis will do, what Isis does, she will either take out or put in. And she will be doing the work as well in harmony with Ra. So I like to think that the ancient Egyptians have left us far, far more than just monuments. They've left us a legacy of these energy devices, okay? And the time of the day, for instance, that the royals like, it's always blue. They dress a lot in blue, if you notice. They have blue rings. Sapphires is their favourite, yeah? And that's because round about at this time of the year, because the days get shorter, if you see what I mean, so the times change. But at this time of the year, blue comes in at 11, yeah? So you can sort of bathe in that blue light. You want your throat chakra opened, 11 o'clock. Focus on the blue light coming out. For instance, go to an ancient site where the blue is, you can guarantee that's where the people speak from. The pulpit in a church, blue. Yeah, over the crossing point of the third global grid as well. So everything is done quite ritualistic throughout the ancient world. But the way I see it, you're going to be paralytic soon, darling.
Very hot.
Yeah, it is. Wow. Wow, that is. I can actually feel the energy difference with just it going around for a little while. That is really hot, isn't it? It is. Yeah, I started to see you sway, darling. So, oh wow! Don't want anyone falling off of the chairs here. Yeah. So with these energy devices, it's a whole new way of dowsing is what I do. And I say a whole new way, it isn't. It's just, it's been kind of repressed in a way because everybody became, that I don't do anything with. I'm listening to the wisdom of the past. Today's dowsing is you telling it what to do. Did you see the difference? That's how dowsing's gone. So instead of me saying, what does the land want through this? It's what I'm going to do with the land. Do you see what I mean? There's a big difference with Master Dowsons. And so I'm going to give you how the esoteric Europeans see earth energies now. Okay, and it's a bit of a different take. And I always say to people, if it doesn't resonate in your heart, don't take it on. Like I was saying about all the different colours of the chakras, if that doesn't resonate to you, it doesn't matter. You have your own cauldron of wisdom that you can add to, whether it feels right. Do you know what I mean? So it's a wonderful thing. So Gaia is this amazing planet that we live on, isn't it? And she has 49 different types of earth energies as her primary ones, which are all the mini chakras as well. She has 49 different types of earth energy. And let's say I'm living in a house, yeah, and I get normally a white Western male. And I say that because my dad was a white Western male as well, yeah. And so my dad followed this model until he met the Germans, for example. And they would look at your house and they go, oh, that's a negative underground stream. That's geopathic stress, meaning just negative earth energies, just to simplify it. I'm going to move that over there. Going to move it over there. I don't want it there anymore. I live here. I'm important. So important. So they move it. But as any master dowser will know, oh my goodness, moles, gnats, deer, they like that. So once you start moving something, you've moved an ecosystem. Do you see what I mean? So in Europe, they say, okay, that's a geopathic stress, I'm it. That's geopathic stress, and that can be carcinogenic over many, many years. So what can I do? Raise the colour frequency. In my house, not outside, not affecting the animals. Do you see what I mean? And so that's one way of looking at it, and you can clear that with these energies. The other old school, which was, when you look to the history of the British Society of Dowsers, it was started by the military. Incidentally, and one of their methods, let's say we've got an underground stream and it's outside of the home, I know what we can do. We can get a stake and we can hammer it in the ground like Gaia's a vampire. Oh, and that will stop it. That's okay. because I live here and I'm so important. When again, that system will only revert back for 6 months. Do you really think that I can change my 4 billion-year-old mother's energy field? Really? Yeah? That's what some people actually think and practice and do, whereas I think there's a much more gentle way with colour, working with the frequencies of the colour in your own home, rather than changing things around. So there's 2 different schools of thought. Do you see what I mean? Changing things or working in harmony with Gaia and her earth energies. And you will hear both sides of that story wherever you go. You even Google it, and they're still using the staking method when, oh my God, it was in the late 90s that we tested the Hertzian field. It's not the underground water that's the problem. It's the Hertzian field it emits. It's not water. We all need water. It's the Hertzian field, and the colour seemed to influence the Hertzian field quite well. And it's a way that we can really work, because all different animals follow different colours and energies. So, for example, deer at night, they travel at night. It's suggested again by the German master dowsers who've doused all the deer paths throughout the Alps. They follow the colour light blue as if it's lit up at night. They see where they can go through the Earth's colours. A bit like dolphins can hear and bats can hear, can't they? Ultrasound frequencies. The Earth colours can do that as well. Yeah. And the Kogi Indians of the South America fame. Have we heard of the Kogi Indians? Yeah, they're really living in harmony with the Earth. If they think their child is sensitive to Gaia's colours of Earth energies, they're always more in tune with the colours of the Earth. Then they would take the children, and the children only allowed to see semi-daylight for the first 7 years of their life. Then they're taken out to a strong earth current, and they see all of the colours all throughout the Andes, like that. So they're very much in tune with the earth energies. I'm going to talk now about some very famous earth currents, yeah, and then I'm going to move on to what I think are some wonderful energies that we can be working with today, okay? And like I say, we'll have a Q&A, and if anybody wants to have a feel of these, and I'll give a little demo of this rod here in a moment. The wonderful thing about the ancients, the most wondrous thing about them, is they could detect a template of energy. And that template of energy would be a spiral or a circle, currents that flow in, and then lines that they could add to that, like lace. So it's a template. And it doesn't matter where you go. It could be ancient Egypt. You will find a spiral. You will find a circle. You'll find currents coming in. It's a template. And you have celestial influences on top of that. And it was in the 80s that most of us have heard Hamish Miller and Paul Broadhurst discovered the 2 earth currents that entwine the Michael Lay. Have we heard of those ones? Yeah. They're really, really well known. And their polarity, okay? And I think, in part, that I think 90% of Hamish's work was 100%. There's a 10% discrepancy that I think about certain sacred sites, especially the sanctuary at Avebury, because, again, I mentioned earlier that I inherited all these Master Dowser's papers, and I just noticed at the sanctuary, 40 years before Hamish and Paul, the Master Dowsers were saying they were rivers of underground water flowing into there, not Mary and Michael, but they're in exactly the same place as Mary and Michael. So I thought, I had to go at water divining. I picked it up as water. Then I thought, am I influencing myself? So I got a lovely old guy. He got all the wells for a brewery, yeah, and took him to the sanctuary. He's passed over now. He got, I don't know whether it's COVID or the bloody injections, but that's a whole nother story. But he's passed, and I just took him to the sanctuary and said, okay, you're the master water diviner around here. You find all the wells for the breweries. Tell me what's here. And he went, water. So I think we do have earth energies as Mary and Michael, but sometimes I think they're underground massive rivers of water. Yeah, that's what I feel, and I think the sanctuary has shown us. But anyway, going back to Mary and Michael, you have that's polarity. You have Mary and Michael and where they cross. I love the way the Chinese call them Long Mei. I much prefer that saying. And I can remember taking some Chinese geomants around Avebury, and they went, Mary, that's a mother, isn't it? Or virgin, like that. And I said, yeah, that's Mary. No, white tiger. Power. Like that. And I had all shivers. I went, white tiger. Power. Yeah, not Mother Mary. God love you, JC. But yeah, so they think of it as in terms of these massive kind of beautiful animals, spirits. And that's great. We have Mary and Michael going through all of these ancient sites, and Ellen and Belinus, Catherine and Peter. You could name that energy system. And there's two. So with Hamish's system, you have a ley, and then you have these two currents entwining it. When I was in Egypt before lockdown, I think it was 2018 and 2019, we were doing big surveys of Abydos, because if you imagine, Abydos has an axis line like that, like an avenue, an axis line like that, with 7 temples at the end, each one dedicated to Ra, Hathor, Horus, you know, and each one beautifully depicted with, oh my God, the massive statues. You feel like that in Egypt. You just kind of go, oh my goodness. You come back with a neck crick. Just looking up at the time, like bunny in the headlights was the first time when I was walking around Egypt. Banging into things, oh God. And we noticed there, well I noticed first of all, and then I got confirmation, is in Egypt they do things on a bigger scale because it is huge, the energies there. As soon as you're 5 miles was measured by Richard Hoagland with his torsion fields. Google torsion fields, Wikipedia knows everything. And Wikipedia will say it's pseudoscience. But I know Richard Hoagland personally, it's not pseudo-science. 5 miles from any pyramid, you're in the torsion field. Yeah, 5 miles. Stonehenge, 10 miles. Yeah, 10 miles. And it was hilarious. With I was doing a radio show with Richard Hoagland, and he was going on coast to coast with all these American, very important, they're all very important people. And he said to me, go to Stonehenge, put your radio receiver on. I had a radio receiver that had music to certain, like 432 hertz and a whole load of other shebang. Yeah, and they had their receivers on in America, California, and all over the United States. And I would go to Stonehenge, freezing, February. Yeah. And you got private access at Stonehenge in February. I was shaking, I was freezing. And the security guards were, what you got there? Yeah. What you got there? And then so I said, why don't you go back to your nightclub? You better watch it. Yeah. Like that. I had my hair this close to a stone. You're destroying it with the bleach in your hair. Yeah? Really? Of course. Yeah, I couldn't get over that. But I'm at Stonehenge, turned on the radio receiver, because we were trying to get the torsion fields. Yeah, and they're in California, switch it on. Despite being followed around by security, Busty put an umbrella into the ground, and he got told off by the security guards for putting an umbrella in the ground. And he said, Jesus, the rook's peck deeper. When the rook's peck deeper, watch it, you two. And I turned it on, and for all across, everyone that had a radio receiver, it was going mad. Yeah, and they played it back, and they had guys that were into decoding numbers and experts and a whole load of things. And we were getting messages back from the torsion field, yeah. And one of them was paranormal. Grey came up. And when they kept repeating that on the radio, it was only Richard who's into the torsion fields. So like I said, I can't hear that. Say it again. And we were all saying it says great. And then it was saying different things about being in different sites. Okay, so that's a 10-mile field. So you don't have to be within it. So anyway, then they said it got crazy, Maria. Did you put it up to high volume? No, you told me volume 4. I kept it on volume 4. And they said it was like went crazy. So they said, go in the torsion field 10 miles away. And let's see if we get the same as we got Stonehenge. Because if you imagine it was crackling and going mad, like energy spikes, 10 miles away, we got a better signal. So you can tune in to any site 10 miles away. Do you see what I mean? People think that they're really trying to, on places like Wikipedia at the moment, YouTube, really down torsion fields. Because last year and the year before, we did a whole thing on the torsion fields. And the great thing is about torsion fields as well, being around 10 miles, and you tune into these around a torsion field, or its energetic auric field, you can call it what you like, then you're putting that into it. The power of place. Do you see what I mean? So we can really tune in to these different energies. So think of it as a torsion field, and you're not too far wrong. Also with the torsion energy fields, it expands where lays are as well, because we were tuning into the lay of America's Stonehenge to Stonehenge UK and got incredible energy work as well. The other main type of energy I'd like to bring to our understanding today, and I'm going to tell you some ancient sites where you can experience this type of energy. We've mentioned Mary and Michael, their polarity, aren't they? Male and female, or solar and lunar. Gary Bilcliffe and others say think of them as solar or lunar, rather than male or female. I still like white tiger and green azure dragon. But there's another type of energy that is really all-powerful, and it's a hermaphrodite line. It's balance. Okay, and I think one thing we all need, well, I know I do, I shouldn't speak for anyone, but I feel that this time we need balance more than any other time that we have. We don't need polarity anymore, and we need this sense of balance within us. Okay, so you're at normally just outside of an ancient site, within its torsion field, you tend to have vortex energy. They're not always in a site. The most powerful ones tend to be outside of a site. Okay, so I'm going to take you to Avebury. Who's been to Avebury? Oh, Avebury fans, I love it. I always get that Avebury feeling, no matter how many times I go there. Got drenched Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, had a dry day at Avebury, taking people around. It was brilliant. So at Avebury, Hamish Miller and my late father said the Beckhampton Avenue ended at Knoll Down. Has anyone visited Knoll Down? Yep. We visited Knoll Down. I actually don't think it was there, because what Dad and Hamish didn't know at that time is you've got another henge monument, it's beneath the ground now, there. And I think that avenue was going that way. But that's just a matter of opinion, and it doesn't matter anyway, because we're talking about power in the land. So who cares about what it could or could have been? So you're at Knoll Down, okay, and you've been there, sir, and Giles has been there. If you walk to the far end of it, yeah, and just look now, this is how you can tell a vortex in the land. Look to the trees, you've got all beech trees there, and you've got beech trees there, haven't you? It's like a druid grove. It really is, and with a little bit of wind, not big wind, a little bit of wind, you can almost hear the beech trees move and the leaves talking to you. It's a magical place at Knoll Down. Look to where the trees start to twist. Yeah, that's vortex energy. Yeah. So I'm going to take you to Wayland Smithy. Anyone been to Wayland Smithy? Yep. Oh, I love you guys. You're a megalithic Maria land. Brilliant. This is what we want. At Wayland Smithy, that's surrounded by beech trees as well, isn't it? Yeah, it's beautiful. And then you go to the far end, so you're right, the megaliths are here. You walk to the far end. Look at the beech tree over there. Twisted. Yeah, it always represents a vortex. So we're going to go back to Knoll Down, and you've got a beech tree that side, twisted. You've got a beech tree that side, twisted. Vortex energy. when you have two vortexes near one another, they don't have to be opposite. One could be over there, one could be over there. Just really don't have to be this symmetry that we always look for in the West. They might be off each other. But where you have two, and if one is male and one is female, then they are going round. Imagine the sign of Aries. Do we know the sign of Aries? Yep, like a horned ram. Imagine that now on the land. You've got a spiral that side and a spiral that side, and now a line born of the two, of male and female. That's hermaphrodite, yeah? And that's real balance, okay? Now, I mentioned Wayland smithing. And, oh, incidentally, actually, I know a retired engineer who doesn't want his name mentioned. Again, working with Maria Wheatley, not having my name mentioned. I'm an engineer, very important. He's an engineer and he won't have anything to do with me now, but he's allowing me to use all of our tests. We measured those vortexes because I said there's energy coming from here, and it was like a cycle, 10 hertz, 20 hertz, 30, 10, 20, 30, 10, 20, 30, and it was going up and then down. And up and down, like someone singing high and low. So there is energy coming out of these points. And just be by them, walk them, and you're walking into an energy field, okay? Like that torsion field. So we're going to go back to Wayland's, because that's Genesis as well. Dragon Hill. Anyone been to Dragon Hill? Yeah, we've been to Dragon Hill. There's a myth to do with the dragon being slayed, isn't it, by St. George? And is he Turkish? He's not even English, is he? Not PC saying that. And there's a place where no grass shall grow because the dragon's blood was spilled. That's one myth there. But if you go either side, again, a geomancer's eye, like the twisted tree, yeah? Just have a look on Dragon's Hill to where the most lush circular areas are. So have a look and you will notice the grass grows a bit higher by vortex energy. Yeah? If you go to Sedona, I mean, biggest vortex land in the world, you know, it's absolutely incredible. The twisted trees in Sedona. Has anyone been to Sedona? It's incredible, isn't it? Did you, Catherine, did you see the twisted trees? Oh. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, they really do twist around like that. It's the same as outside of... Yeah, I know. It's absolutely incredible. I swear my hair was like that when I came out. Sedona, bunny-eyed again. And where, again, this is a geomancer's eye, so you're on Dragon's Hill. Just look around for the lush points. Stand in there and just sense, is this the male vortex? Is this the female vortex? If you've got a dowsing rod or Isis pendulum, this is a vortex rod designed by Mike Chan. If it's a male, it will tend to go very fast clockwise, anti-clockwise for a female. And I mean, it will go absolutely crazy, kind of try to spin off out of your hand. These heavier rods, a little bit slower, but still very fast, nonetheless. And then stay in between. Just imagine you've got a vortex there, and just go in the middle of the vortex. It's not rocket science. And then you're on the hermaphrodite line. Walk down the axis line of Wayland Smithy. You're on that axis line of the hermaphrodite energy line. Balance. Not male or female. We've been divining male and female systems since Himmler and the red and the white, since Hamish. And I think now we need to think about the more balance from within. But here's the secret of Wayland Smithy. And I would really suggest that you go there. It's free. You have to pay to get into Wayland's. Yeah, you just have to walk a little way along the Ridgeway, one of the oldest roads, some say, in England, going back to Mesolithic times. Okay, if you go down to the far end, so the megaliths are this end. It's a Cotswold 7 type of barrow. This end, you go to the far end, the twisted tree. You'll see that for vortex energy. And then just walk down the middle of Wayland Smithy. But do it slowly, okay? Do it very slowly. Because if you walk an access line slowly, you sometimes have what's called pulse points coming out of the ground, okay? And you'll feel the energy. And there's 7 to 8 at Wayland Smithy. So you can work with your chakras there, okay? And you can start off by, gently seeing your base chakra slightly open, masses of Kundalini rising. For me, it was very uncomfortable. For other people, it could be a very great experience. And then you can work with your chakras because the royal family, okay, they were the ones to introduce modern day baptism. It wasn't John the Baptist in churches, it was Henry VIII. And he would say, open up the third eye chakra. Yeah? Open up the third eye chakra. But for a child, if you haven't got all of the other chakras open, well, it's a kind of disadvantage. Do you see what I mean? But if you open all of your chakras, like the royal family do, they have huge long rooms to open up the chakra system. Or Westminster Abbey, yeah? There was little surprise that Prince Charles had that screen. I know this for fact, and you can believe me or you don't have to believe me, okay? But I am telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. King Charles was not the first person to wear the crown on that day. I'll tell you who wore the crown. A very dodgy shaman from Peru. Yes, he was the first one to try on the crown. When you look at Prince Charles's official picture, I've got a silver bracelet on. Look what he's wearing. The gift of the shaman. Yeah? They're working with at the moment. And he's as dodgy as hell. In fact, I got ordered on a clean-up job wherever that shaman went. I had to clear it up. Yeah, by others that didn't like that. They're all moneyed people in the know, in circles. I don't move in those circles. I get paid like a slave to move in these circles. Yeah, I was even staying in the servant quarters. I thought, geez, has nothing changed since the Victorian era? Yeah. No, when it comes to all these moneyed people, it really isn't. My point is, they are doing this, and if they are doing it, we can. Do you see what I mean? We can become equally as empowered, because once you have these chakras opened through these ancient sites, by walking, that's all they do, then you are more in balance. Once you're more in balance, you can hear, your soul's divine purpose from wherever it is. Or wherever you're coming from, you can hear better, you can think better. You are more in harmony with yourself, okay? And the other thing is, it's a real wonder. I'm only going to mention my book plug once, okay? But I've got a book coming out, The Secret History of Stonehenge, which is about the long-skulled people, 2 races of long-skulled people, and lots of other things with all sites across the world. I have been writing for English Heritage for 10 years. My invoices go back to 2013. They've always welcomed my work. They won't have my name on it, but I did their guide because I can talk basic language. 2015 BC. People don't want to hear that when they go to Stonehenge from China. They want to just have a plain thing. So I've been writing for Stonehenge. I've got a big account with them. I supply them with goods. Yeah, I think good quality goods. Anyway, my book is about to come out, so I said, can you help me promote Secret History of Stonehenge? They took one look at it, banned everything I am doing. Yeah, after 10 years. Yeah. Got to kick him up the ass, Jones. Kick him up the ass in the DMs, that's what I say. Yeah, and they're really frightened of it. And why? There's one chapter in that book, yeah. I know there was 2 altar stones at Stonehenge. Yeah, English Heritage wouldn't tell you that. Yeah, there was 2. And I even found physical evidence of a second one. I even found a vicar telling you where it was. Now, if the bloody vicar's lying, then, goodness me. And in 1930s, they were still trying to find that second altar stone. It's at St. James's Palace in London. Yeah. So in that book, I say it's at St. James's Palace in London. Here, and I give you the evidence. It's up to you to see that I say this is what was said, this is what was said. They stole that. Imagine now there's, just before I finish for question time, I want to end on a story with the royals, because the secret history of Stonehenge is weird. Okay, so now we're in 1619, and you've got Inigo Jones. Remember that name? Indiana Jones. Inigo Jones, he's called. He did his vision of Stonehenge was 6 trilithons. That's from 1666, little tattoo there. And you've got James I, yeah? James VI of Scotland. He married Queen Anne of Denmark, but he was bisexual. And his lover was the dashingly handsome Duke of Buckingham. Yeah? And the Duke of Buckingham was the first to dig at Stonehenge. Nobody else had dug at Stonehenge until the royals said, dig at Stonehenge. Yeah? So he dug at Stonehenge and gave all the measurements for the second altar stone. And then the Duke had more power than the king. He had him under his little finger. Yeah? And there was a saying in that era, the Duke is the king, and the king is the queen. That was the saying at that time. And so he's taken the altar stone, because it's healing now, because everybody knew it was a healing temple long before that was written out of the history books. Okay, and I proved to you in my book there was a stone there that made water. They got plugged up in 1950. And anyway, so the dashing Duke of Buckingham, he was an occultist. His wife, his mother rather, was an occultist. And the Duke said to the landowner at the time, it's called the Greater Trilithon. It's the biggest stone at Stonehenge, you can't miss it. One survives now. He wanted that dug out and taken to the Buckingham Palace, because you've got to remember St. James's Palace was bigger then than the Buckingham Palace today. Okay? And he wanted the Greater Trilithon. But of course, they wouldn't let him take that, the landowner. So basically, he was the second altar stone. Yeah? And that's what you'd say. Anything against the royals. And since I went and kind of did a little bit of publicity, Amazon, I think they are in with the royals. I might be being a bit conspiracy theorist here, but at the same time I did that, Amazon are now saying all of my books are out of stock, out of print. They're not. Yeah? So, you know, together we can be really strong. Yeah? And that's what I want to kind of put the mic over to you in a minute for the last 15 minutes and realise that as much as we work with these ancient sites, we work with the energies of Stonehenge, we activate our bodies. There's many hundreds and thousands of us, and for bringing children into these ancient sites, they will just resonate with the energy, because all the sites worldwide given to us by our ancient ancestors, it's their legacy for a modern generation. Thank you. Questions? Do you want the mic?
Well, no. Maria, how do we find out where to get your book?
It's literally being printed now. It will be on my website.
What's your website?
esotericcollege.com or the aveburyexperience.co.uk. So it's esotericcollege.com, the Avebury Experience. And I've got a copy here. I go into depth with a lot of things to empower, because in the 12th century, some kind of geek historian, I'm not really, I'm kind of cool, I'm not a geek. But in the 12th century, Geoffrey of Monmouth, who wrote the histories of the kings of Britain, he said, no stone at Stonehenge is not healing. The 2 archaeologists, modern day archaeologists, Professor Tim DeVille, I love you, Tim, and the late Geoffrey Wainwright, they say it's a healing temple. They've gone away from it's all about death, all about the ancestors. They're on a project, it's called Henge World. And Google it, it's called Henge World. And they know that they don't call it a torsion field, they don't call it earth energy, but they now know you take troubled people, mental health issues into these ancient sites, they've plugged them up onto their brainwaves are being rewired. and it's called Henge World. So as much as some archaeologists are anti all of this, there's many now working and realising. I just said to Tim DeVille, I just take it one step further than you, Tim. I say it's earth energies, a spiral pattern, blue energy, spiritual gold. But yes, it's a wonderful thing.
That second website again?
The Avebury Experience.co.uk. Yes?
The negative green that you were talking about, and you said it's grey.
Mm.
Is it a certain shade of grey? I mean, or is it a light grey?
That's a good question. Well done.
Trying to picture, you know, what colour it is.
That's a really good question. What colour is the negative green? The answer is it can be many shades. It can be light. It can be dark. It's the time when it's most powerful is midnight. That's its hour of the day. But it is very, 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 very powerful. And with the Karnak pendulum, the masculine one here, that will show you where there's gentle pockets of the negative green, because where you could stand, for example. I've got to put that down. Soon as you put the Karnak pendulum together, like so, and you walk around with it, like that, when it picks up on positive negative green, it will go clockwise. And then you just stand there. Or if you do your auric field and it goes counterclockwise, it's taken out the negative green. So it will put in the negative green, positive green. Do you see what I mean? So they're really, really easy to use. And then some master dowsers go one step further and say if it goes to the left as a swing, and you can feel it pull. It will look, when you first start, you think, oh, which way is that blinking going? But eventually you feel a pull. Do you see what I mean? And if it goes to the left, it's pulling out past life negative green. That's where some people are going with it today.
How do we get those ISIS one and the Karnak pendulum?
I sell them on I don't sell the Karnak at the moment because I'm waiting for an order on that, because mine are done to the harmonic series of ancient Egypt. So I'm going to get my second batch in quite soon, because if you go on eBay, which of course you can do, you'll find them cheaper on eBay, but you don't know if that's the size to the Egyptian model. That's very important. I mean, people won't tell you that because they're selling stuff, but that's where it is, and you will feel the difference. I mean, this lady did. Seriously, what's your name? Tara. So yes, it's and my point with these energy devices is you could go on courses with them, and I do them, but you don't need that. You just need to know how to use it in the auric energy field, and especially the chakras, because they contain the negative green. They contain an esoteric colour dowsing, all of the colours of the sun god Ra, but one colour will be dominant. And that will take out the negative green or put in negative green, the Karnak, and Isis will put in white light.
But do you have the ISIS ones here now?
No, because I leave for Colorado, and my last batch is for Colorado.
Will you have them at the Avebury Experience?
Yes, in about a couple of months. Give me kind of to September, and I will have them back in September. And incidentally, I take them to Stonehenge, and I charge them personally at Stonehenge. You know, they don't like it now. They just see me coming. They go like that. She's called Wendy. It's only Wendy that really likes me. I think because she's got to like me. So she smiles, goes, hello, Maria. Here's these people, Maria, again. Yes.
Do you have any advice about visiting Skara Brae? Do you know much about Skara?
Oh, Skara Brae, Orkney. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Yeah, I think my first tip with Skara Brae would be when you get into, again, we're talking torsion fields, so you don't wait till you get there. You know, when you're way, way away from the place, just call out to the ancestors, the spirit of place, the guardian of place, and ask for, you know, to be welcomed by them. And the great thing about Skara Brae is it became the model for Durrington Walls. So the same size you get of houses at Skara Brae, you eventually got at Durrington Walls near Stonehenge. And it's a beautiful, beautiful site. You've got the coast there, and you've got, you know, the Ring Brodgar, Stones of Stennes, Maes Howe. Have you been to Mine Howe?
No, I'm going next week.
Yeah, go to Mine Howe as well as Maes Howe, because it's underground. You go down 27 spiral megalithic steps, yeah, and take a jump of faith, yeah. You know, like, you never want to hear it on an aeroplane, brace, brace. And then they light up the thing, do you know what I mean? You follow those lights down. So they don't have it bright light, you follow these airport lights down. And then you think you're at the end of Mine How. Then whatever it is you feel that you want to bring in, yeah, just jump like this, and you're going to go down about 2 to 3 feet, and you go like this, and then you're right there. Yeah, you're right at the base. And then a lot of people think when you're at the base of it, really go down like this, put your head down, like going into baby fetal position, and then you reborn back up. Yeah, it's magical. And a lot of people miss out Mine How. And it's ridiculous. It's in Orkney, but it's really ridiculous. You have to wear a fluorescent suit and a hat. Yeah, and I go, really? Do I have to wear the hat? It's only going down steps. Yes, you've got to wear the hat. So everyone has their picture like this, the hat and high vis. Nanny state. Yes? Yes. Oh, yeah, on many occasions.
What do you think of the stones that have VR?
I think the stones of... What do you mean VR? Oh, yeah, but the thing about Are Below, I think, is the main thing. It's 2 phases. The cove feature in the middle, okay, is going to be very important in 2 years' time. That's the first thing. Because did you know about the big alignment that's coming up? Yeah? No? The major alignment that hasn't happened for 18.61 years? You're megalithic babies, aren't you? You're my little fledglings. Okay. Okay. Are Below. You're at the centre. It's called the Cove feature. If you went up there in 2025, yeah, it's aligned to the moon's most northerly moonrise. The moon's never going to get any higher in the sky. It's you know, like the summer solstice day is the day of longest sunlight. Yeah. The moon's most northerly moonrise and the moon's most southerly moonrise, but the northerly one especially, is the night of the high moon. It's the longest night of moonlight. It's the longest night of divine feminine power. Yeah? And Are Below is aligned to the northerly. Yeah? I think you'll email me because I'm using the astronomer. I'm name dropping now. Of Graham Hancock and Robert Bravell. His astronomers calculating all the dates for me, and I can add in Are Below to that. Yeah. Are Below is near. It's in the Peak District. Yeah. It's a recumbent stone circle, so that all the stones are flat. It's limestone, like the Giza Plateau as well, but it's in 2 phases. You've got the Neolithic Cove, that's the one in alignment. Okay, I mean, seriously, if you're thinking about seeing the most amazing sight ever, yeah, then come with me to Callanish in 2025. There was a woman there. I was there 18.61 years ago. And incidentally, I discovered the moon's alignment at Avebury to do with the night of the high moon. Really proud of that. But at Callanish, Margaret Curtis, the late Margaret Curtis, oh my God, she discovered something so magical. And I was there 18.61 years ago. And she took me under her wing and just told me all about the place. And to this day, I'm in gratitude. Okay, by Callanish, it's magical. You have, curiously, a mountain range in the shape of a goddess with boobs and belly. Yeah, it's very curious. And the moon caresses. The full moon is the most southerly here, meaning it's not going to rise very high. Do you see what I mean? It's like the most southerly. So it's going to do this along the horizon line, kissing all of the aspect of the goddess, the sleeping beauty in the land. Now, let's say I'm stood just above the centre of Callanish, like this. I'm touching either side of the moon. That's how low it is. I'm in the moon, yeah? And it's honey-coloured, because where it's not getting high and white, do you see what I mean? It's honey-coloured. And literally a woman can touch either side of that moon. But it doesn't stop there, the drama of the Neolithic. If I put my hands like this, yep, my shadow reaches out and touches everybody that stood in a particular position. Then bang, the moon sets and it goes to darkness. It's drama second to none. I mean, come on, who needs TV? Who needs Netflix? Yeah, that's Callanish. Now, if you come to me with Avebury, I know the 3 places at Avebury where you will see the moon's most northerly. That's when it's high and bright in the sky. And you have the moon shadow. Yeah. And at one time, when there was no light, pollution, Venus used to cast a shadow, her light. Yeah. But the moonlight you can still see at Avebury cast your shadow. And just before I go, I'll say, Busty, you were there with me 18.61 years ago. And it's hilarious, and this is true. There was only 4 guys. 3 I invited, another guy there. And I'm really huffy and puffy, because I said, why aren't there more women here? And it was before you really did all the social media thing. You know, it was nearly 20 years ago. And I got my camera, and I'm taking, oh my God, look at the moon. And I'm taking all of these pictures. Oh my God, it's going to go in my book. It eventually did go in my book. And the guys were going, our cameras aren't working, Maria. No, none of the guys' cameras could work. It was hilarious. Then after I laughed at them, I decided I felt sorry for them. And so I was going, give me your camera. Like that. Give me your camera. Wasn't it? And that's because I think it's the night of the Divine Feminine. Yep, Night of the Divine Feminine. And that's where we will be. So join me or go to Avebury and I'll tell you where to stand. But don't forget, it's the night of the high moon.